Good morning everyone, my name's Charlie Stevens and I'm the Managing Director of Domain Digital. Today I'm going to share with you something that could literally save your business. So I know that you're taking a look at this presentation because you're concerned, and rightly so, about protecting yourself and your organisation from the huge number of cyber threats that are out there today. You know, be it ransomware like crypto locker, bank and credit card fraud, rogue employees, regulatory actions, or just people making mistakes. And ultimately, you know, I know you're here because you don't want to lose everything you've worked so hard to achieve in an instant, especially since it can be prevented. You can, technology can't fix everything, but we can go a long way to reducing your risk footprint. So what are we going to go through today? How to protect your client information. We'll run off a bit about digital disruption, what this means for your organisation. I know there are so many choices with regards to software providers, cloud, should be pushing stuff into Office 365, should you be having stuff on-prem, and ultimately we'll be creating a technology roadmap around your security framework. So hang on. We'll chat about the number one security threat to your organisation that antivirus, firewalls and other security protocols just can't protect against. The thing is that firewalls and antivirus software just aren't enough anymore. You've got to take it that little bit further. And we'll have a chat about mobile phones and cloud applications are seriously jeopardizing your company's security and data protection. And I'll give you some options on how we can protect yourself around these. So ultimately, what we're looking to do is to avoid you being a sitting duck to cyber criminals and to protect everything you've worked so hard to achieve. So who am I? Who is Charlie Stevens? My background, I come from large corporate, iNet Limited, Dimension Data, Chime Communications, and I've been working with technology since 1994, a bit over 20 years now, which is a little bit scary, I know. I've been running Domain Digital since 2005, and what we do as an organisation is we have a continuous review process to stabilise and enhance your technology environment. I love this quote. You know, the biggest danger is your complacency. Success breeds complacency. Complacency breeds failure, and only the paranoid survive. Let's have a chat about the business of cybercrime. This is a business. You know, cybercrime rings have become very sophisticated. They're very well funded and they're very well organised. And unlike the businesses that you and I run, they don't have to follow the rules. They can do whatever they like. So let's take a little bit of a look around the background here. In the good old days, cybercrime business was the business of crime was pretty simple. You know, you'd buy a gun or a knife, you'd hide out in a dark alley, and then as someone walked by, you'd jump out and say, stick them up, and you'd grab all their money. Startup costs and overheads were low, and if you didn't get caught, you'd be all okay. But just like any good business owner, criminals started thinking, you know, how do I make more money? How can I grow my business? And technology started to answer this question. So we saw trains come along. Good thing about trains is you can pack a whole lot of people in a closed environment, in one place at the one time, and they're a great demographic as well. If you could afford to ride a train, you probably had some good money. So that's where the great train robberies came from. Grab all the rich people in the one place at the one time and rip them off from there. So if we come forward a few years from there and look at the advancements in technology, we see an ever increasing trend of storing financial and personal information on third-party cloud platforms. This is the new train robberies that are cyber crime related. So you could rob 100,000 people at once, 1 million people, like 10 million people all at once, and it's absolutely available to do. You can see from this slide that there are some rather large numbers of data breaches that have occurred. JP Morgan, for example, 80 million households and 7 million small to medium businesses were hacked. It just, it wasn't one person walking past in the street, grabbing someone else's credit card. It was a large quantity of data lifted off in one foul swoop. And then there's the examples of Target and Home Depot attacks, where 40 million credit cards were stolen at Target and 56 from Home Depot. Never in the history of mankind have we seen these sorts of heists before. It's absolutely unbelievable. And you sit back and go, well, what are these people going to do with all of this information? Let's take a look at what the digital underground will pay for this sort of thing on the black market. We've got credit card details that go from between $2 and $90. iTunes accounts, they're $8. And you go, well, why iTunes? What's the deal there? Well, your credit card is actually in your iTunes account, and got access to the credit card. We've got access to digital information that we can pull down. So it certainly is still valuable. We've got physical credit cards you can grab at $190 a pop. Card cloners between $200 and $300. We've got fake ATMs. Yes, like an entire ATM that you can roll up and get people to swipe their information directly out of that. And the bottom line is that the cybercrime business is actually thriving and growing. It's not just a couple of guys hanging out in the garage anymore. You can basically buy as a service all the tools, all the information, all the know-how to create your own cyber business. And we can see from the number of threats that have been released that it is doing this business of cybercrime is doing rather well. And you can sit back and be thinking, I'm just a small business. I'm not a Target or a JP Morgan, so who would want to hack us? Well, the bottom line here is lots of people. And the reason for this is the big organisations have very, very secure and sophisticated systems in place. Now, they don't always work, clearly, but they are extremely difficult to get into. And the problem with small business is that you're sitting back thinking, well, I don't have any information of value. Like, who's going to bother trying to hack me? Well, one in 5 small businesses fell victim to cybercrime each year, or so the stats are basically saying. And we know that small businesses are very low-hanging fruit. If you don't believe you're a target, it makes you so much easier to get at. And over half of all cyber attacks are actually aimed at small and medium business organisations. So what is the data actually worth? Let's take a look at this. $141. This is the average estimated cost associated with every record that is stolen. So this is a record that is defined as the information that identifies a particular individual. And this is from this is Australian statistics as well. So what does it consist of? We've got reputational damage, loss of clients. We've got legal action and legal fees. We have the requirement to replace the data, downtime, loss of productivity. Bottom line is, just because you're a small business doesn't mean to say that your customers' information is any less valuable to these guys. And are you being a good steward of that information? Check out this number. 82,000 new malware threats are being released per day. That's right, per day. So we've got 86,400 seconds in a day. So we're running at just under one new malware threat per second. It's pretty crazy, isn't it? And you need to have some really good systems in place in order to be able to protect yourselves from this. Check out this slide. It's actually, there's some really powerful takeaways here. So if you've got debit cards directly linked into your bank account, that is actually your money that these guys are taking if your card gets breached. The thing here is you go, okay, so Australian rules are pretty decent. I can get that information back. I can get that money back. And whilst that may well be true, the point is that it can take 14, 21 days for you to get your money back. And if someone's cleaned out your bank account, that's a long time to be without all that money. I would be cutting up and cancelling the debit cards. Grab yourself a credit card and make sure that you pay it off every single month. Then if the card gets breached, it's the bank's money that you get to deal with from there. Make sure that you sign up for email alerts from your bank whenever your bank account is touched or your credit card is charged, and in that way you're aware of all activity that's actually going on. Strong and unique passwords are still the first and last line of defense. But the key thing around this is that you're going to need to use a password management application. So at home, I use LastPass, which is a very good tool. And check out the passwords are like bubblegum. They're strongest when they're fresh. They shouldn't ever be used by a group. And if you leave them lying around, you're going to end up with a great big sticky mess. So this is a screenshot of one of the millions, probably hundreds of millions of phishing emails that you may have seen or you could well see at some time in the future. And it's what's known as social engineering. So social engineering is the art of manipulating people into performing actions or divulging confidential information, which realistically you shouldn't. And it's relatively easy to trick people into providing information that they shouldn't. This is why we need to educate ourselves and our employees around what's right and what's wrong for supplying information. So 600,000 Facebook accounts are hacked every single day, which is, the numbers are incredible. Ransomware dangers are on the rise. I've done this presentation towards many groups, and there's never been a group that I have presented to where there hasn't been at least one person who has fallen victim to a ransomware attack. Basically, this is when they encrypt all of your information on your local machines and or on your servers, and then they demand a key. They demand money for you to be able to get your information back again. This is how the cyber criminals are monetizing malware, and they're doing rather well out of it too. Another thing you need to look out for is, where is your company data? Where's it been stored? If you look at the applications like Dropbox and the like, they're all this data is being pushed out into little silos out on the internet, and it's becoming increasingly more difficult to control. You need to have a policy, and you need to have a framework to be able to ensure that you know where this information is. Just a quick one here, having large and complex passwords obviously protects people from, or protects your accounts from being hacked. LastPass will do a check on all the passwords that you feed into it to tell you whether they're whether they're weak, whether they're medium, or whether they're strong passwords. And it will also tell you if the password, or if the website that you have been using has been compromised. So bottom line is, there's a constant scenario where lots of different places are getting hacked, and if you happen to be a member of one of those sites, LastPass will actually tell you that you need to change your password for that individual site to keep yourself safe. So it's a pretty good tool. It ranges from being free to relatively cheap, depending on what you're trying to achieve. And if you've got any questions around that, I would be more than happy to give you a hand there. Everyone's got a mobile. But my audience interaction with people is, there's very, very few people who are actually using antivirus on their either their mobile phones or their tablets. Now, as a result, the cybercrime, cyber criminals are actually looking to see how they can leverage their time. And if you don't have an antivirus product, it's so much easier to inject malware and extract information off these devices. You can see from the graph that the number of infected devices is climbing at an incredible rate. And whilst people fail to install antivirus and anti-malware products to their phones, that's going to continue to happen. Bottom line is, we need to remember these devices are actually mini computers, and they need to be treated as such. So what happens with your employees' phones if they're just leaving them lying around? Do you have a lock on your phones? So if you put your phone down, someone can't just walk up and grab it and start sending emails or accessing information that they haven't, that they shouldn't be able to. As an organisation, it's a great idea for you to create an approved application library. This will actually improve the speed at which you can deploy a new device, because all of the information is automatically pushed down to the phone. And the other thing is, if you're allowing people to bring their own devices, you need to have the ability to do a partial remote wipe rather than just wiping the entire device when they leave. And we've already chatted about the fact that it is actually a mini computer, and you need to have antivirus on it. Spam remains the single biggest driver of data breaches today, because everyone needs email. We need to be able to send email and get that into an organisation. All of the large data breaches have come from emails being sent to a company. Someone clicks on the wrong thing, and for whatever reason, their systems might not be quite up to date, or it doesn't matter what the reason is. That's the time that the threat gets in, and they are significantly compromised at that stage. So how do you go about protecting yourself? Is there a silver bullet? Is there is there one thing that will ensure that your entire organisation is protected? The bottom line is that there isn't ever one answer to fix all this, but what I can do is give you a high-level technology roadmap, and if you choose to implement each of these components, you will significantly reduce your risk footprint. So let's quickly go through these. We've got using your systems to force passwords that are difficult to hack. You need to educate your employees around what is acceptable and what is not, and an AUP is an acceptable use policy. So you should have a policy around what websites you're allowed to see, what kind of information they or what they should be using their computers for, and what they shouldn't be using their computers for. So we've talked about implementing a mobile device policy and the applicable security processes that get wrapped around that. We need to lock down the use of third-party applications such as Dropbox and the like, so we know where our data is and we've got full control over it. You need to control what websites your employees are accessing. I mean, there's no situation where porn at work is acceptable, where hate sites at work is acceptable. Gambling at work, well, except maybe on Melbourne Cup Day, we have a lot of people asking us to punch a hole in their firewall for Melbourne Cup Day to allow their users to place a bet. But as a general rule, it's not something that should be done, and you can lock your systems down very tightly. Third-party spam filtering should be a standard part of your organisation's security framework. I mean, we actually bounce around 93% of the emails that are sent to us. It's a huge number, but domaindigital.com.au has been around for a long time, and as a result, we see a lot of spam that comes to our addresses. So thankfully, none of that actually gets to us, as it's all bounced through our spam filters. But if you're seeing any sort of spam at all, you need to make sure that your spam filters are adjusted. And you also need to ensure that you have a solid, unified threat management platform. So this is a fancy word for a firewall, but it's not just a firewall. It's a very, very powerful firewall, and it keeps an eye on all of the traffic coming in and out of your organisation, and helps to keep you safe. So at the end of the day, it starts from the inside of the company and it goes out, not the other way around. You can have all the bells and whistles when it comes to network firewalls and antivirus and anti-malware software, but a social engineering attack can bypass, and does bypass, all of these defenses. Effectively, no one can protect against stupidity. So the bottom line, you need to be serious about protecting your organisation against cybercrime. And after we've covered this off, we sit back and go, can technology secure the human element? The answer to this is no, but yes. What you need to do is implement a human firewall. And what is this, you ask? A human firewall is educated staff, people who know how to spot something that's not right. They have the training and the understanding of what phishing emails are, people calling up and asking for inappropriate information over the phone. And it's not just a once-off training course. This has to be a continual process of educating your staff. So, whilst we can never actually predict what people can do, if they're educated and they have the appropriate guidelines for using technology, you can significantly reduce this particular risk. So how we handle this is over the course of a year, we'll send you a series of phishing attempts, ranging from the blatantly obvious, and effectively anyone with half a brain should be able to look at it and go, that's spam, I'm not going to click on it, through to the far more subtle and clever phishing attempts that make you look long and hard at the correspondence to decide how you're going to process it, whether or not you should actually click on the email that's been sent to you. If people are clicking on the wrong thing, there's a couple of things that will happen. One is that it'll go off to a web page and say, oops, you have clicked on the wrong thing, and you might like to take a little bit closer look at what you're clicking on in the future. The second thing here is that actually gets recorded as a security breach, and from there we're able to tailor specific training programs to the people who are constantly clicking on the things that they shouldn't. So this is only a few seconds every couple of weeks. The impact to the organisation is very low, but as we train people, the human firewall or the defence mechanisms of your organisation are significantly improved, and it will make an enormous difference to the security of your company, regardless of your thoughts around firewalls, around antivirus, around all the technology systems in place. If you do not have an effective training program for your staff, you are missing a huge component of your overall network security. Best thing about this is it's extremely cheap. You won't believe how cost effective these particular training programs are. And if you want to take a look, or if you're interested to take a look at how we might be able to help you here, head along to this website. So it's simply domaindigital.com.au/human. Fill out your details, and we'll be in touch to take you through the customized options that you have to close out this huge hole in anyone's network. Thanks for sitting through, and I hope that you've had some good takeaway bits from this. You have an absolutely fantastic day.